Bobbi Salvör Menuez, welcome to Pardon My Success.
Oh,
Get ready, it's the new edition. Your favorite morning meditation. Hey, it's me, pardon my success. I'm a hot mess.
It is such a pleasure to have you here today. You are an icon. You are amazing. And I'm so glad we finally get to actually talk in person. It's kind of
I
crazy.
know. It's so weird how that happened. I was like, I don't even know what this person looks like, but I know I like this person because of our use of emojis together.
So many emojis. And that's really what connects us. And I think that's really beautiful. It's so amazing to meet you because you have been in so many projects in so many different mediums. And I feel like have really mastered a lot of different parts of this industry. And I would love if you could kind of take us through your journey of like how you kind of began and like got your start here.
There's a lot of like different mediums that kind of like cross paths for me, but I guess it's sort of like my main like career focus, or at least I've finally admitted it, like, a decade in is like working in film and like working as an actor and performer. And so like to trace kind of like more the beginning of that, which already kind of gets into like the other stuff. I grew up in New York. As a teenager, I had started this art collective with friends and was like doing a lot of like putting on DIY art shows and making zines and like going to all ages like punk shows. Like I just was very like, connected to a lot of like whatever young creative people in New York. And I had been doing some modeling work like since I was a teenager. And that was like, how I was moved out of the house when I was 18. And that was like my bread and butter for a
That's
long time, which is amazing. And I'm so grateful that that was like something available to me. But somewhere between those two things, like the art and the modeling, like I ended up in some editorial story in this French magazine shot by Casper, who's amazing. And there was just like, it's funny because in the portrait, like I had like ran into a pole the weekend before. So I was like, my lip was like a little like, not like fully busted, but it was just like I looked like kind of probably like more tough than I really am. But I just remember, yeah, like these pictures somehow reached a French casting director, this woman, Antoinette, I'm forget Boulard, I think. Anyways, she saw these pictures and she was casting Olivier Assayas's film at the time, Après Mai, but the English title was Something in the Air.
Mhm.
And basically, like, I had just turned 18 and I got like an email from her being like, hey, we're looking for like non-actors. We want real artists. Like, we're coming to New York. We're looking for this role. Like, would you read for it? I like didn't really know what it meant. And I was like really into film, like I loved watching movies. I loved watching like old movies. I was a teenager when when Netflix would send you DVDs.
Yeah. Hmm.
Special time, special time. So I would be like, like watching my Godard like Netflix DVDs
Stop
at
it. That's so
home.
funny.
Anyways, I was always into movies, but I didn't know like if I could act or not. And I was kind of like, I don't know, I just hadn't really thought about it. And then the audition process for that film was just like really kind of experimental. It was like, we like met for coffee in Soho and then we like filmed some like totally improvised scenes just like on the streets, like on a little camera. Like it was just like
Oh, I
really
love that.
fun and kind of random. And then I got the role and yeah, it was just like the summer, the last summer before I like moved out of my parents, living with my parents, and I like, got to like film in France and Italy and like
That's so cool. How did
yeah,
it feel like you were ready for that at such a young age?
because of like the sort of like organizational like work I was doing in the arts, where it was like I was like curating these art shows and like putting them on, and I felt kind of like a little, I don't know, like a little boss or something.
Yeah, you were already ready at the time.
And I think also Olivier, like the way that I was got the job, and obviously I didn't have an agent or anything at the time. I didn't really know how these things worked at all. But like he wrote me a personal letter kind of like expressing his confidence in me to play this role. And so I just was like, this is a new experience. I'm curious about new experiences often. I'm like, I've never tried that. I'm curious, you know. But I was going to Hunter at the time and then started to take like acting 101. Just like that's like pretty much the extent of most of my like formal training. Like Hunter College, not really a college known for its theater department necessarily. Yeah, I remember there was this one thing that my teacher told me that was helpful actually, which was that she was like, you're telling the truth in an imagined situation. Like
Yeah.
you're like living honestly into something imaginary. And so it's really not about lying. Because I thought I'm like not a good liar. So that's why I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But then once that kind of shift, I was like, oh, well, I'm really imaginative. So
Yeah. It's playing pretend. I love that. Yeah, no, exactly.
yeah. And it was a very, very special experience to work on like a project like that, where it's a director who like, you know, he's like well into his career. He knows what he's doing. The film was shot on film, which is so like
Wow.
special and rare.
That's
And
so hard because you have like one take, like, or else they're like, that's another $500 of footage.
yeah, I don't know. I think also just like because it was in another country and I don't speak French, like I can speak a little conversational, but like I think maybe I didn't like know what was going on all the time in a way that
Yeah.
like maybe was like more relaxing.
You were just vibing. Did you have to learn all your lines in French? Like, how did that work?
I played an American. So
Okay,
that because I was
that's
at
nice.
first I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like learn French. I was like so confused. But yeah, I played an American, so that really helped.
How did you kind of prepare for that role? Like, what was your process?
I mean, it's set in the year 68, like after the 68 riots in Paris. And my character is a dancer who's kind of like a hippie who's traveling and like who is like the partner, love of like the main character's best friend, whatever. That's sort of like the position that she's in. And I don't know, she was like an artist. This character is like an artist, a creative person, someone like who wants to travel and explore and like learn things about herself. And actually, simultaneously that summer, my art collective at the time had gotten into this residency in Paris. So it was like this simultaneous thing. So those things together felt very like there were some parallels. And yes, something about it being a period piece. I just like, obviously, I didn't live then, but I really enjoyed film from that period and like certain like aesthetic kind of like nerdy period film stuff is really fun to me. I think also it's just I just got lucky, like Olivier is also just like a director who's very, I think he really knows how to work with actors and like be kind of like encouraging in a way, gives you enough information to like make you feel like you know where to go or
Yeah.
something.
I'm sure that really helps on sets too. Like, have you ever been on like sets and things where that really wasn't your experience and you were like kind of struggling to have to do your literal job?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because I feel like I've worked on a pretty like weird array of projects. I've never worked on something that's like super huge, like Marvel all on a green screen, like that level. But I have worked on like bigger productions and I've also worked on all different kinds of indie projects. So
Mhm.
many working on a film where we're shooting in India for a month and I like take a vow of silence for the 3 weeks of filming. There's basically almost no crew at all. I've done like very bare bones, like weird projects and then like
I would not be able to take a vow of silence. That just simply it would not happen. I don't think I could do that for a day, let alone 3 weeks. So how did you do that? Was that like mandatory?
no, it was sort of like a creative decision that like was the idea of the director that I sort of thought seemed cool for the character because the character was sort of like not supposed to be human and it's supposed to be like new to earth kind of. And so I was like, I think this is gonna really help like get into the character.
Stop! I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. You're an alien that literally is learning how to human.
Yeah,
That's so
kind of.
cool. What project was that?
That was a film called Technology from this Japanese director. It never got like American distribution, but it did have like some New York screenings a while ago and has played like in other parts of the world.
Is there a medium that you are most comfortable in? I know that you said like acting is like you finally admitted to it, but what was one that you showed up to and like you said you were a boss?
That's a good question. I mean, for some reason, the thing that comes to mind is like a little bit of like an aside, but it's like I do feel like it's related to what you're asking, which is that I'm
Mhm.
just thinking about like the kind of like challenges of this industry and sort of also like the time scale of like
Yeah.
filmmaking. I've had periods where like, I shoot 2 features in the year and like that's like really amazing, whatever. Like, but even in a period where I'm like, I worked plenty, like I can chill. I should theoretically be able to chill. I'm always just like thinking of other projects that I want to be working on, or I just like need other like things for my brain to chew on and like other income to like support my life. So I really like performance art, like as like a space where it's
Mm.
connected to, performing in film or theater, but it can be a lot of different things. And so like being in friends' work, making my own work. I also just like am a really visual person. And I mean, something that I like about film that I think is something that I seek in all the kinds of things that I do is sort of like this idea of world building.
Mhm.
And so like something that I also do that can be really fun is like I sometimes work as an art director, either like in fashion or with like musicians where it's like, like let's think of like the visual world of like your upcoming album and like who could shoot it in this. Like I just am someone who really like likes to connect dots. Like I'm always like, oh, you should meet this person.
That makes a lot of sense. Of course, we would all prefer to be doing huge feature films all year round, but it's literally, first off, not feasible. There's too many scheduling issues that would simply not allow that to happen. And number two, like, yeah, it's so competitive. It's like the most competitive industry to be in. And my biggest thing is that there's just so much gatekeeping that happens here. Literally, if you don't have the connections or if you don't know somebody that has the connections, you're just kind of stuck. Being able to help other people connect their projects makes them so much more willing to help you with yours. What would you say is like kind of the hardest or like maybe like the pros and cons of like working in this industry and literally like dedicating your life to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're on the like other side of a double strike in our industry and like everyone who works in this industry and honestly kind of like anyone who participates in like culture like is feeling the impact of that in some way whether they realize it or not. Like it's actually, it's what like I know friends who are photographers who like the cover story keeps pushing because da 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 or whatever. We're in a time of feeling the difficulties of the industry like weigh on everyone even more than usual or something. It's like we had COVID, which obviously was hard for every industry, and then like the strike. And so I think it's like a time where everyone's really feeling into like the weak points in the structure. I guess also thinking about like what you were saying right before that about like this thing of the gatekeeping and whatever, like the cool club or something like this
Yeah.
whole exclusivity and exclusivity is like part of like what feeds the machine, right? It's like that fighting for the role or the whatever. But I really do agree that it's kind of like it's easy to like have tunnel vision or something in this industry and be like, I have this goal, this is how I'm going to do it, like this is like you're even asked sometimes like, whose career do you want, which is already kind of like pinning your
Yeah.
path like in a set way. Also in a
Yeah.
way where you're like, well, that person actually already exists.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to do that. Like they might be an inspiration to you, of
yes,
course,
of
but it's
course.
like that's not who I want to emulate in every single possible way.
Yeah. And I think like something that has created sustainability and also like diversity in my career that like nourishes me both like in a way where like I'm working on projects but also I'm feeling inspired is keeping my mind really open and also not just putting every egg in my actor's basket and just being like real life is more important than my career and that's actually always going to be true for me and there just like are always going to be things that are more important than like getting the role I think I really need. I guess I don't know, not to get like too woo-woo, but it's like for me, I just like I'm just like I actually need to like have faith and like a greater like
Yeah.
trajectory for my life than pin my vision for my success on one outcome. Because it's also this thing too where you're talking about like, you connect these people and then you never know how that's gonna like,
Yeah.
feedback and like support you in some way. And I even feel that way about auditions too, where it's like I've had this thing recently. I was noticing I audition all the time for whatever I can, whenever, and but like the last three big projects, like the last fe three features where I was the lead, were not projects I auditioned for, which is so lucky and so special. And, you know, in two out of those three, it was like a first time feature director. So there's like different reasons why that makes sense, probably. But there is just this weird thing where it's like sometimes I'm like, I what shoot my little auditions and I'm like, I feel like I might not get this, but like I'm just like putting the energy into the universe that I'm like interested.
You get what you put out, and I think that's very true. And I feel like it's like job applications. I feel like auditions and job applications are very similar, where you know it's like a broader casting call and they don't really care about you. They don't know you. They have
even watching
they have no real reason. You know what I mean? They might watch the first couple seconds, but you need to know somebody. You need the connections. It's usually the situations where you really get the biggest outcomes. It's I knew somebody who knew somebody and now we're here. But like you said, like the three that you were the lead of, like how did that happen?
The first one that I was like attached to was this Polish-German joint production. We shot in like 2020, like right after the first big wave. Like I was
Wow.
like, you know, out there right before the second wave of COVID like hit Europe. And I had been attached for a year prior. And that was just something where like the director had just seen me in other things, you know, and just had this idea that I would be interesting for this role. And it was like such a fun, weird project. It was so, I mean, I don't have agents in other countries, but every time I get to work on something in like another country,
Thriving in Europe.
I mean, working on that project, I was really just like, this movie would never be made in America. Like, it's just so weird and different and just like camp in this other kind of way. I've seen the film now. It hasn't come out in the States, but yeah, it was just such a cool project. And I just was like, I can't believe like, you know, this kind of like weird, bizarre film like is funded partially by the government. Like,
Stop, what?
yeah, what's so wild about that project actually is that like there are all these queer narrative through lines. I'm like one of two trans queer actors in the film. And the film was partially funded by the Polish government, which at the time of our filming, I think it still is quite like right
Yeah.
wing and like anti-queer. And like they're like, we're gonna have gay-free zones in Poland and like we're trying to ban Halloween. And I'm like, the producer was like, I don't think they read the script. Like, I think they just thought like, oh, this is like an up and coming Polish
Yeah.
male director. Like, this is good for our country. Like,
This will represent Poland.
two of those features, it was like they had seen other stuff. And then the third one was this Australian film that me and the director had worked on a music video together,
Oh my
you
gosh,
know?
so cool.
And then we just were like on set on shooting the music video. And he was like, I'm maybe working on this like weird experimental project. There's like, it's all structured improv, no script, like filming in the like jungle in Australia. I was like, definitely sign me up.
As long as I don't have to take a 3-week vow of silence, that's perfect. I can't wait to be in the jungle.
Easy.
Let's
Easy.
go. Yeah, yeah. You have no scripts. You can talk, but they will tell you nothing about what you're supposed to say. That's so stressful. How do you do that? Do you have to take a bunch of improv classes beforehand?
We were lucky we had like a really amazing dramaturge. And of course, I feel so bad because I'm forgetting her name, but she's really amazing. And she also like worked on the Mad Max, like not the Furiosa one, but the one before
Oh my
that.
God.
Like she's just a really amazing dramaturge. So there was like a supported process. Like it's like the characters were sort of like based on animal archetypes and like there was sort of like an overarching like trajectory of where things were supposed to go. Like there were like there was like structure.
Okay.
I don't know, for some reason sometimes like I feel like more in my element in a setting like that. I remember once working on a set that was like a smaller role on a bigger production and it was like there was just like no room for like
Yeah.
anything to breathe. You know, it was like your body has to be positioned exactly like this. That's more like modeling or something, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah. So
posing. And it's just,
choreographed. What would you say maybe is your top like favorite creative project that you've worked on?
it's hard to say, but I think right now I'm thinking a lot about this Australia project because it's coming out soon.
Oh my gosh, exciting. What's it called?
It's called Lunacy, and yeah, the director is Daniel Askell, and we had worked on this Leonard Cohen music video together
So cool.
prior, which was like really special and like really felt really random that that came together. And I just was like, that was a very like unique creative process. To have that much like creative freedom and to like be so experimental in the process was really special and rare. And also something that was like really an exciting turn of events was like through the structured improv and through the edit, I was asked to come on as a writer because like based on what emerged in the process and like my writing, like journaling in character. And so that was something that was really like just so exciting and shocking and special. Like, you know, for him to be like, hey, so like we want to like do voiceover of like your writing with you and like have you be a writer because like you did write that stuff basically.
That's like, I'm like tearing up. That's so beautiful. I feel like it's
Shocking.
so
It is
hot, like
shocking.
that they would do that after the fact. Like that's
I know.
so rare and so amazing. And like, it really shows like, number one, your talent. And as obviously, like I personally have read a lot of your writing because you've done so many amazing projects and like magazine articles and like partnerships with people. And obviously that is a very strong suit of yours. And like, that's so beautiful. I feel like it really, this movie turned into performance art in a way that let you shine in such like a specific and personal way. And that's so incredible. I'm so happy for you.
It's funny because it's like I feel really, really, really blessed, especially about that project. And then I'm like, I want to keep doing my freaky projects. And then I'm like, but I'm also like ready to do something like more normal that doesn't pay me more
No, normal's
money. Like,
overrated.
Speaking of more normal, which I guess is also slightly less normal, you went to Sundance and
yeah.
was in the incredible My Animal with Amanda Stenberg. How was
Yeah.
that?
that was so fun. I mean, you know, it's interesting because like Sundance is a special festival for me because I've had like I feel like I've had some real milestones there for me in my career. I think the first time I went there was in 2016, and I think I've now had like 4 or 5 films there, which is like kind of feels insane a little bit.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like the first time I went there was with White Girl, and that was like my first time being at like a big festival in the States, and that was like a really, I think a really big moment for me in my career at a certain point. Um, and I just remember like having the most like, you know, fun, weird time. And then, you know, we actually brought I Love Dick there, the TV show. Like they did a special event there for that. And then there was this short film that I worked on with my friend. And then there was Adam, which when I went to Sundance for that project, that was when I like chose to like formally reintroduce myself with like my chosen name and like, you know, more publicly announce my pronouns and like address my gender in this public way. And it was really special to like do that at Sundance and like with a film where like the director was trans and brought on like people from GLAAD to like help support me in that process. Yeah, and then it was like going there with my animal, you know, it was the first year that it was back in person since it had been kind of shut down since COVID. So it was like it had such an energy last year. Like it was just like people were so excited to be there. Just so many friends were there working on projects. There was a lot of interesting films. I feel like I watched more films last year than I've ever been able to watch when I'm there. It was fun to premiere My Animal too. I think it was also like a moment where it was the first time that I ever, this is so funny, in my whole career, it was the first time that I ever had hair and makeup at a premiere. And it was the first time that I brought on a stylist for a premiere.
You looked incredible. Those are some of my favorite photos.
I just think I'm still like my scrappy, everything has to be like DIY and like glued together with a hot glue gun like situation. I felt very supported. Of course, they're friends. The makeup artist is my friend. The stylist is a friend. I like, you know, told anyone who could come to like come crash at my Airbnb. We like had so many people. My room had a bunk bed and there was 5 people sleeping in the bunk bed and then like another friend on the couch and then like the DP and his girlfriend were on a blow up.
How do you even
bed.
fit 5 people on a bunk bed? I don't.
Wouldn't
The
the bunk
bottom
bed-
bunk was wider.
Okay,
There was like
all right, you
3
know
on
what?
the bottom.
I see that. I see that happening now. Oh
It
my
was
God.
very like,
It's so
Yeah.
summer camp.
yeah, it
I
was
love
very
it.
funny.
I do want to say, last question. What would you say is like your top piece of advice for young aspiring artists?
maybe it's cheesy, but sort of just like staying true to yourself is like the most powerful thing you can do. Like doing the most you thing, even if you think it's like really weird and doesn't make sense and no one's gonna like it or understand it, like that is the most powerful you can be, is to like do what feels true to you, like do what feels good to you, like go where it's warm, like, you know, have faith in the process. Like, you know, if you're putting your energy out there, like it's gonna come back some way, even if it's like not linear and it's not how you think. Don't like put, you know, too many expectations on like how you think it's gonna go and how you know, want it to go, because like there might be something even better that like can happen. And also I'm just like, careers are long and winding, and like that's just, I think, how it is.
Also, like, always remember your relationships, because those are going to be the most powerful things that you have. Obviously, congratulations on your upcoming wedding. How have you
Oh my God, yeah.
kept that relationship so strong throughout this whole career?
I've been with my partner. We've been together for like 5.5 years. I'm really excited for getting married this summer. I think it's kind of nice that my partner does not work in my industry. Like they are
definitely helpful.
more of a conceptual artist, basically. And we like meditate together. We do a lot of things that I think like help us have like a really healthy, functioning relationship. And we're both like really invested in that. So I'm really grateful to have that.
So special. And I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on absolutely everything you're doing. I can't wait to see everything that happens next. I appreciate you so much for coming on. You are the best. I love you dearly. Thank you so much, Bobbi. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So affirming, so joyous.
Oh my gosh, good. I'm so glad.
Positive.
Thank you so much.
Oh, take care. Have a fun day.
Thank you.
When I'm in LA sometime. Bye.
Yes, please do. Okay, bye.
Are you PMSing?